Shalom, everybody. Thank you for joining this Shabbat Parasha KEDOSHIM, where we teach the Torah in Yeshua from Israel. And we're happy to do so and to talk about this wonderful verse that we can find in the Torah, mentioning the Messiah and our sanctification as we are going through all those difficult times. It is really the time to focus on our sanctification. And this is what this Parasha KEDOSHIM, which is the very heart of all the Torah, all the 5 books, it's about be holy like I am holy. And it's maybe one of the parasha that Yeshua quoted the most. So we're going to see what it means exactly to be holy and to try to go into this direction. So it's Leviticus 19, speak with all the congregation of the children of Israel, say to them, you shall be holy, for I, the Lord, your God, am holy. And this is quoted again in 1 Peter 1:15. On the contrary, following the Holy One who called you, become holy yourselves in your entire way of life, since the Tanakh says, you have to be holy because I am holy. So we need to be KEDOSHIM. KEDOSHIM, holy, is Kadosh. Kadosh means separated, different from the rest of the people, different from the rest of the world, and imitating his nature, because he is different, he's separated, he's not like the word, he's not like the flesh, he's totally different, separated. So KEDOSHIM begins with the commandment, be holy, for I, the Lord, your God, am holy. Then it continues with the tons of mitzvot, to banish idolatry, to do tzedakah, to keep Shabbat, to behave sexually the correct way, be honest with the business, honors one's parents, and be aware of everything that can reflect the holiness of God. And it is even in the same parasha, which is related to Kedusha, to holiness, that the principle of the Torah that was quoted by Yeshua says, love your neighbor as yourself. So this is really the heart of the 5 books of the Torah, where we can find Messiah. So it is also from this parasha that Yeshua quoted in John 13:34, I am giving you a new command, that you keep on loving each other in the same way that I have loved you. You are also to keep on loving each other. So why is it new then? Because it was already written. What changed? What did he add? So this is what we're trying to see with this study. So it's a mitzvah for each one to become kadosh, okay? Not only the priest, but every one of us. We need to be KEDOSHIM because he is. So does it mean that we have to become exactly like him? Can we be like him? We cannot, because also there is a certain verse where you see that the kadosh is not written with the vav for the people. Why? For him it's written with the vav, because he is the perfect kedusha. We can only try to reach some. So it's rather like an addition to the mitzvot. We need to become a holy nation and a kingdom of priests that are going to be different than the rest of the world. And more we go in this world, more we see that there is darkness and light. You see that the deeds of the darkness are just filling up the whole earth. And with this rise of anti-Semitism, of a rage against Israel, it's in fact the rage against God himself. Israel is just being a witness. It's just an excuse to fight against God himself. In every place that there is Kedusha, it talks about the upper light that gives revelation and illumination in our life. What is removing light and revelation is called impure. Light, it's light, or impurity, meaning blockage. Remember that tum'ah means blockage. Impurity is tum'ah, atum means blockage. So what is kadosh? The kadosh is the word of God. All the holy scriptures, all what brings us close to him. While the tum'ah is doing the opposite, because the one who is tameh, who is impure, is filled with klipot. So we need to reveal the revelation, uncover the revelation that is hidden under the klipot. The klipot being the shell, the husks, something that is preventing the light to come in. So everything is about liberating the sparks from the klipot. This upper light constantly fills the whole world, but it's been blocked by all the klipot. So the more we remove those klipot, the more the light reveals itself. It's like when we scratch, like a drawing that is hidden by a layer of something, you scratch it and then you unveil the gold that is under, or the white. So there's a progression in this parasha and in the whole book of Leviticus. In Parasha Shmini, we learned about what we eat. In Parashat Tazria and Metzora, we learned about the forbidden talk, like Lashon Hara and slandering, after the death of the sons of Aaron. And then now we learn about the forbidden relation, and even more. So it's like a progression, like what we read, for instance, in Acts 15, when the apostles, they met together and they wanted to give the instruction to all the nations coming back. The nations there that were coming to salvation were, in fact, according to the Greek text, coming back. Coming back to what? They were coming back to something they knew already. So probably this is one of the texts in the New Testament, in the Brit Hadasha, that tells us about the coming back of the tribes. Because we can see that in James, he talks to the tribes he says shalom to the tribes that are in the diaspora. So they knew where were the tribes. And then in Acts 15, it tells that those people are coming back, and he quotes the Amos 9 that tells us about the returning tribes, the rebuilding of the Sukkot David, which we develop in all the studies of the yeshiva. And it tells them, it gives them a few of the basic commandments to become holy. Therefore, my opinion is that we should not put obstacles in the way of the goyim who are turning to God. Instead, we should write them a letter telling them to abstain from things polluted by idols, fornication, from what is strangled, and from bad blood. And all those commandments are taken from the Parasha Acharemot and KEDOSHIM. So we are really right in this context. In fact, what we need to understand is that to be kadosh is to do opposite what our flesh wants. This is what we develop in the groups of inner healing, when we talk about this rule of the horse, the chariot, and the driver. You have the chariot, which is the body, and then you have the horse, who is wild, it's the animal soul. Then you have the driver, which is the divine soul or the spirit. So it's the fight who is going to lead the body. Is it the spirit or is it the flesh? So of course, the horse has to obey the driver, but most of the time it's the opposite. So to become holy is really to get hold of the reins of the horse and to dictate him what we want to do, not him. I'm going to quote from an excerpt of a book from Daniel Elbaz that says, if the expression acharemot, which literally means after death of Nadav and Avihu, were the two sons of Aaron, recalls physical death and therefore the separation between soul and body, it refers above all to the original sin when Adam broke the divine unity. When Adam separated himself from the master of the world, he lost his letter Aleph. Let me share with you a little, where is it? Just 1 second, okay. So here it is. You see that Adam here, Adam is written with Aleph, Dalet, and Mem. And Adam, by sinning, he lost this Aleph. And what is the Aleph? Aleph is about Aluf Haolam. It's about the God himself. Aleph is the Aleph. So what was left was Dam, which is blood. So he became a person, he became a man made of flesh only. Then he also lost the truth. He was believing it, because truth is emet with an Aleph. So he lost the Aleph from Adam and the Aleph from truth. The problem is when you lose the Adam from truth, emet, you are left with met, which is death. So this is what happened with the sin, meaning that he's now fighting death in his fleshly body made of the blood. So we need to bring back this Aleph. We need to bring back this dimension in our life. And who is the Aleph? Of course, we have the tremendous blessing to have received the Lord. Revelation 1:8, I am the Aleph and the Tav, say Adonai, God of heaven's armies, the one who is, who was, and who is coming. Yod Keh Vav Keh. So we receive the circumcision of our hearts that help us if we work out our salvation. We don't become holy in 5 minutes. We have to work on it, and it's not easy. It can take a whole life. So what we have to do is to really subdue the horse, to remove what is unnecessary in our life. This is the solution to become holy. In food, in drink, in buying, in clothes, whatever we want, we need to reduce to what we need. Not to eat to overeat, not to overdrink, not to overpossess, not to over and over, which is dragging us down instead of liberating us from the materiality and thus to become holy. So we here, Lashon Hara, we open the door for a klippa to block the light. So we need to stop. We need to rule on the horse. Too much or not enough even is harming us deeply. The point is that always a driver needs to rule over the horse. We need to do what we can and to be in control over the lust of the flesh. Because God has never sinned, Yeshua has never sinned, so he's not in this problem with the flesh. We have to fight against in order to become holy. They are separated. He is separated naturally. Otherwise, we poison our nefesh, which is the animal soul. We poison our body and we get sick in our soul and our body because of what we call the motarot, which is the excess of surplus, excess, too much of this, too much of that. And Torah is giving us the balance, right and left, not too much, not too less. The Torah is called Kav Emtzai, which is the middle line, which is also called the Messiah, and Yud Keh Vav Keh. Remember that we said that Messiah in last video was empowered with the power of Yud Keh Vav Keh. This is why he spent 40 days in the desert, not eating, ruling over the flesh, and by the power of Yud Keh Vav Keh, which is 26, the two letters Mem and Chaf, which is 40. Okay, so Chaf and Vav, sorry, which is this power that Yeshua was tempted in the desert. So they have evil holds when there is a lack, when we are missing something. Something that means that something that we want to receive for the self instead of for the others, to give or share to the others. So this introduction leads us to the main topic of the parasha, which is circumcision. The Torah portion of Acharemot and KEDOSHIM, because they are read together in a normal year, but we're in leap year, so we split them in two. But Acharemot and KEDOSHIM talks about Orla, which is circumcision of the trees. When you come to the land and plant all types of fruit trees, you shall abstain from the Orla, which is circumcision. I mean, that's not circumcision, is the prepuce of its fruit. For 3 years it shall be Orla and not be eaten. And on the 4th year, all of its fruit will be holy, praise for God. And on the 5th year, you shall eat its fruit so that its produce increase. I am Hashem Yod Keh Vav Keh, your God. So when the Israelites planted free in the land of Israel, and still today, the fruits are forbidden for the first 3 years. They are referred as Orla, uncircumcised. It's a foreskin, okay? So the fruit of the 4th year is allowed, but if you take it to Jerusalem, when you can eat it in purity. It's only the fruit of the 5th year that you can eat whatever you want. So even today, when we buy trees in Israel, we need to check if it has already 4 years, 5 years, and so otherwise we cannot take its fruits. And God promises that if this commandment is kept, the tree will produce with abundance. So there is a mystery behind this. In the first 3 years, when the fruit is considered as uncircumcised, it is said that it is under the influence of 3 impure klipot, shells. That, by the way, we find in the first chapter of the book of Ezekiel, and this is what we develop in our class on the biblical Kabbalah. And those 3 klipots, they encompass all the impurity in the world. They are like a foreskin, and if there is a foreskin, there is a blockage of the light. In the 4th year, the fruit is permitted, but he has to come to Jerusalem. And this 4th year, there's corresponding another shell, klipa, which is called noga. So noga is less grave than the 3 first, which are very, very negative. The klipat noga is something that you can change. It's permeable. It's also developed in the first chapter of Ezekiel 1. It's permeable to bad and to good, meaning that if you rule over it, it becomes good. If you don't rule, it opens the door to everything. You can eat 1 ice cream, it's fine. If you eat 3 ice cream, you are on the other side, because it is a motarot. It is motarot. It's an excess of something. So it builds a shell, ask, instead of letting the light come in. And in the 5th year, the fruit is essentially good, and you can eat it everywhere with praising God, blessing God, and the fruit has itself been transformed, meaning that he underwent a transformation that can bring now blessing. So the tradition tells us that the 3 states of the fruit, they are part of a process. And it's related to parts of our bodies that need to be circumcised. The word uncircumcised, so arelim, refers to the foreskin, and this is talking about uncircumcision. And it is said that there are 3 members in our body that need to be circumcised. The heart, Deuteronomy 10. Circumcise, therefore, your heart and no longer stiffen your neck. The ear, to whom, Jeremiah 6, to whom shall I speak and to whom shall I warn that they may hear? Behold, their ear is uncircumcised, and they cannot give heed. Behold, the word of the Lord is approached among them, they find no delight in it. The lips, Exodus 6:12. And Moshe spoke before the Lord, saying, behold, the children of Israel have not hearkened unto me, and how shall Pharaoh hearken unto me, who am uncircumcised of lips? So we have 3 organs, in addition of the sexual organ. The act of circumcision is carried in 2 operations. The first is called the milah. So there are 2 operations to do a perfect circumcision. The milah, which, by the way, the Muslims don't do. They only do the milah. They don't do the 2nd stage. So the milah consists of cutting the foreskin, and the second is priya, which consists of removing the almost invisible membrane that covers the skin. So the milah represents the sin that is obvious, and the priya represents the sins of the heart, the one that can only be brought by revelation, or only God can see sometimes. It's written in 1 Timothy 5:24, the sins of some men are manifest even before they are judged, this is milah, while in others they are discovered only afterwards, this is priya. So the milah, the circumcision, is the image of those 3 layers of impurity. They are likened to the 3 years which the fruit is forbidden, meaning it's deep into the klipot. You don't touch them. They're not good for consumption, even spiritually. It is only at the end of those 3 years, that the first stage of sanctification, that the fruit can be brought in the 4th year to Jerusalem to be consumed before the Lord, meaning that we start to unveil everything. The Lord is here and is helping us in our march. So in the 4th year, this fruit is permitted, but he has not yet reached the stage of sanctity. He has not yet become holy. Okay? Become holy, it's a process. It is still being verified, still tested, and so. And this 4th year corresponds to the 2nd stage of the circumcision, which is Priya. And it is a time of purification, looking inside, looking for the things that are inside that are not revealed, where the depth of the heart are probed before the eyes of the Lord in Jerusalem. Meaning, Jerusalem is where we encounter the Lord. So it's the revelation of what is inside us and the desire to purify it in order to ascend holiness. And it is only in the 5th year that the fruit is ripe and can be eaten normally. This is when we will reach the final stage. This is holiness. So this maturity, we have to become like him, so to become in his image, that it enable us to celebrate the Lord by giving him all the worship of our heart, of our ears, of lips, everything that could be purified for all defilement. So the circumcision of the heart, the ears, and the tongue is modeled on the 2 stages of the circumcision process, leading to the final stage of holiness and acknowledgement by God. First of all, the heart is cleansed of all obvious impure thoughts, adultery, anger, hatred, evil thoughts, and everything. This is the 1st stage of the Milah. Then the deepest motivation are examined. This is what we do in the inner healing groups. We reveal what is in fact the seat of our thoughts and what's going on, the motivation and everything. The conviction of sin becomes more precise, with the Lord telling us things about ourselves that we didn't even know before. This is the Priya stage, the 2nd stage. And the final stage is the fruit of our sanctified lives, which we can bring to his feet and enjoy through the blessings he brings in return. Because it told us that on the 5th year, we are going to enjoy the fruit of it. Romans 7:4-5 tell us, therefore, my brethren, you also were put to death to the law through the body of Messiah, that you might be another's to him who were raised from the dead, that we might bear fruit for God. For when we were in the flesh, the passions of sins, which are by the law, work in our members to bear fruit for death. And we need to bring back not death, met, but emet, truth in our life. So it's the same with the ear. We begin by closing our ears to all bad words. We don't want to hear bad words and slandering and gossip and everything. Then when we do this, slowly, we discern his voice more and more so that we are finally ready for the call. Because when we have garbage in the ears, we cannot hear his voice because it doesn't mix with impurity. And then the tongue also is a small member, says James, Yaakov, that is difficult to master. And we have seen in Parashat Tazria and Metzora what are the consequences of it. So Proverbs 18:21 tells us that death and life are in the power of the tongue, and he who loves it will eat of its fruit. So we begin the process of Milah, 1st stage of circumcision, removing all bad words from our mouth, and then we deepen the stage of Priya with the help of the Spirit. This work, which is done in the secret of our heart, will manifest its fruits in our mouth, because it is from the abundance of the heart that the mouth speaks. So if we have cleaned our heart, we're going to say praise and not bad words. Luke 16 tells us, the good man out of the good treasure of his heart brings forth what is good, and the evil man of the evil brings forth what is evil, for out of the abundance of the heart his mouth speaks. And then the final stage will be that only of a word of blessing, exhortation, teaching, and praise to the Creator that is coming naturally out of our mouth, like in Colossians and Daniel. Let the word of Messiah dwell in you richly, in all wisdom, teaching and exhorting one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing from your hearts to God in a spirit of grace. And Daniel tells us, and the wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that have taught righteousness to many as the stars forever and ever. So the first stage is teaching and correction by the word. The second stage is regeneration by the same word and the renewal of our minds. So it is those fruits of the fourth year that we have to take to Jerusalem, where the Lord was crucified, where he commanded the apostle to wait for the promise of the Comforter after his resurrection, where his spirit was given so that we could have victory over the uncircumcision of our souls, our ears, our tongues, our heart, and when he's come back to reign. And this is exactly in the period we are at now, that he appeared and instructed for 40 days, again, 40 days, with the power of Yud Ke Vav Ke, how to wait for him and the promise. And behold, I send the promise of my Father upon you, but as for you, stay in the city until you are clothed with power from on high. The power to help us overcome, to become the driver that is ruling over the chariot and not the horse. Another quotation from the same book. It is by circumcising our negative thoughts, lust, power, cruelty, anger, that the gateway to wisdom will open in our hearts, according to Deuteronomy 10:16. It is through the circumcision of our listening that it will become possible for us to perceive once again the universal vibration, meaning the creative word, in order to return to our Creator, according to Jeremiah 6:10. And finally, it is through the circumcision of our speech, the Lashon Hara, the evil tongue, that we will once again be able to speak word of truth, those of the Torah, Emet. So it is only through the new birth, and really effective new birth, and the new or renewed covenant, okay, the renewed covenant, as in this case of the renewed covenant, not the New Testament, all can be applied in all truth. It says in John 13, I will give you a new commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you, that you also love one another. By this all will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. And in 2 John 1 it says, and now I beseech you, not as writing thee a new commandment, but that which we had from the beginning, that we love one another, and this is love, that we walk in his commandment. This is the commandment as you heard it from the beginning, that you should walk in it. The word that is used in Greek here and tol is mitzvah. So it's only obedience to the whole of God's word, to Yeshua's mitzvot, commandments, that we can be sanctified and really enter this purified heart, to get a purified heart, to really sincerely love one another. The rest is just ecumenical sentimentalism. We say that we love, but unless we have the love of God in our hearts, meaning that if we have cleansed our vessel enough for him to dwell in it, and not being full of ourselves and having a little space for him only, that we can really love, because we manifest as the love of God, not our own perception of love. 1 Peter 1 tells us, having purified your souls by obedience to the truth, so that you may have brotherly affection without hypocrisy. So that you may have, having been purified your soul by obedience to Emet. It's only then that we really can say that we love one another. Love one another ardently with a pure heart, you who are regenerated not by corruptible seed, but by incorruptible, by the living and abiding word of God, because all flesh is like grass, and all its glory like the flower of grass. The grass has withered, and its flower has fallen away. But the word of the Lord abides forever. This is the word that was spoken to you on Mount Sinai. But the word of the Lord endures forever, rejecting therefore all malice and deceit, hypocrisy, envy, all slander. Desire earnestly as newborn babes the pure milk of the mind, that you may grow through it to salvation, if you have tasted that the Lord is good. From whom, as from a living stone, rejected by men, but chosen and precious in the sight of God, you yourselves, as living stones, are being built up to the spirit, to be a spiritual house, a holy priesthood, to offer spiritual sacrifices pleasing to God through Yeshua Mashiach. So the Torah was given to us to teach us God's love with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our material possession, and to love our neighbor as ourselves. The whole Torah is about this. Matthew 22, and one of them, a teacher of the Torah, asked him to test him, saying, Teacher, Rabbi, what is the great commandment in the law, in the Torah? And he said to him, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first great commandment, and the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. The entire Torah and the prophets depends on those two commandments that we can only apply if we brought back the Aleph to our death body and become Emet. So there are two levels, outside and inside. When we get, what we get is that we need to reveal the inside, which is the neshama. The driver is the neshama. That is the purpose of the circumcision and the story of the trees and so on. And as the sage says, if one performs a separation but does not perform the revelation, which is the second stage of the circumcision, it is as if the child was not circumcised at all. It's only the appearance of it. And one more time, Daniel Elbaz tells us, the Acharemot and KEDOSHIM sections deal with the laws of the Orla, the foreskin. The word Orla, which is Ain Resh Lamed, Hey, which means foreskin, excrescence, breaks down into Or, which is skin, and Lamed Hey, which is Le Hashem. So it means towards God. From this structuring, we learn that the laws of the Orla have the essential function of enabling the progression from impurity, which is Or, the external aspect of our body, the most external exteriority, to holiness. So we need to go from impurity to holiness. And this explains circumcision or Brit Milah, during which the foreskin, Orla, is cut off on the 8th day of life, because the number 8 designates the words of infinity, to which the word of Atzilut, which is the upper realm, the higher word, close to him, belongs. The word that is about 7 days of creation. So the heart, the seat of the thoughts, Yeshua was hinting at that, to purify our hearts. From the heart comes the bad desires. Mark 7:20, it is what comes out of a person that makes him unclean. For from within one of a person's heart come forth wicked thought, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, indecency, evil, envy, slander, arrogance, foolishness. All these wicked things come from within, and they make a person unclean. So we need to purify our inner desires, the one we don't even perceive, but which are revealed through our thoughts. Thoughts are likened to the fruits of the soul. Our first step is to, first of all, to abstain for the fruit of the 3 first years. When we consciously and deeply connect our thoughts to God, it is like if we are bringing the fruit of the 4th year to Jerusalem, because we ask him to look inside us, to really reveal what is not good for him. And by doing so, we reach this 5th year, and which is purifying our heart in order for a good thing coming out of our mouth, because our heart is clean. And all of those bad desires, they are always related to the desire to receive for the self, which is the opposite of the nature of Hashem and Messiah. Messiah is, now I'm sharing from Inner Work, another quote, Messiah is an aspect of the light of the Yechida, which is the upper level, the closest level of relation near God, making it simple here, which is the highest spiritual light. When this light shines, the oneness of God becomes revealed to us individually and collectively. Divine names and all the different attributes describe the levels of experiencing God and what to do in order to merit those levels of divine experience. The light of Messiah is only experienced when we desire to give, which is the opposite of desire to receive for the self. This is what our flesh wants. The horse wants to eat for himself. He doesn't care about the chariot. But the driver wants to lead, to give food to the horse, and he wants to lead the chariot to his destination. So we have to, when we give, this is how we perceive the light of Messiah. So the circumcision of the heart allows us to be in a state of giving, sharing, instead of taking for ourselves. Those who are not working to reach the state of giving, they are not waiting for Messiah, but rather for something they imagine to be Messiah. They fantasy. This is not Messiah. Because when Messiah will come only to instill in us the value of giving, like he has given himself, like God has given his only son. This is giving and giving. So to become holy is to become this way, to be giving and not taking. The Mashiach will reveal the greatness of God so that we can be free from wanting to receive. But how many people are yearning for this? This is all the story about Parasha KEDOSHIM. So when Yeshua said, I'm giving you a new command, that you keep on loving each other, meaning give to one another. In the same way that I have loved you, I gave my life for you, you are also to keep on loving each other. So this is not a new mitzvah at all. It belongs to our parasha. But with the circumcision of the hearts and the work that we do to restore our neshama, through the new birth, we can manage to slowly reach this matara, this goal. So this is what I wanted to share with you for this wonderful, beautiful parasha that invites us to really dig in our hearts and to let him brought out the fruit in order to bring before Jerusalem, before him, and then finally to be able to eat and be blessed by what we do in all the aspects of our life. So thank you for listening, and Shabbat Shalom. And let's not forget that this period, this year now, that the apparition of Yeshua was for 40 days to his disciples. So let's expect another promise, another effusion of the Holy Spirit soon. Thank you very much.